Hello everybody, this is episode 2 of Mornings with Max. Again, bi-weekly show. It's our first show on Throwmore Disc Golf Store's YouTube channel. And my guest today is Tim Barr. Tim, how are you?
I'm good, how are you?
Good. So first off, what's your PGA number and what's the highest you've ever been rated?
PDJ number is 10512. My highest rating was 1018. I carried 1,000 from like 2002 until 2015. So
That's a lot.
well, you asked me that and I looked it up.
I actually knew the answer to that, believe it or not. Real quick, what year did you start playing and then what year did you join the PGA?
I think I joined in 95, a little late. Had I joined when I should have joined, I would have had a 4-digit number. Donna joined, a couple of years prior to me, or maybe a year prior to me, and she's got a 4-digit. If I had joined when I should have, I would have probably had around a 6,000 series number, but at that time I was a nonconformist. I didn't want anything to do with the PDGA. I just wanted to play disc golf and have fun. But I kept meeting people. But I started playing. The first time I ever played was actually in my neighborhood. This guy that I was friends with, there was about 5 of us, and we played all the sports you could play in the neighborhood. And one day he's like, "We're going to play frisbee golf." So he gave me a fastback, which is like an MTA disc.
Yeah.
And of course I didn't know what I was doing. I couldn't throw it, and it was, didn't end well. I ended up throwing it in the lake. That neighborhood was right down on Patrick Henry Lake, and there was a shot where you could literally throw over this little cove and to the grass. And I was the only one that lost my disc. So I came out here probably 82 and played the original 1, 2, and 3, which is now in the area of 4 and 5 and 6, and with the big whammo, and played about 3 holes and got mad and left. You can't throw something like that without knowing what you're doing.
Otherwise,
all I had was brute force and I had no finesse, so I threw 6 or 8 rollers and got mad and left. And then I graduated high school in '85, and the next year some buddies of mine said, "Hey, let's go out to the park and play," and I was like, and they asked me why, and I told them my experience, and they're like, "Oh, you don't have a golf disc." So I don't know what it was they gave me. It had to have been either a Stingray or a Rock or a Cobra, because the end of it was it back then. There was really nothing.
And those
else.
were probably the fastest disc.
Pretty sure it was a Stingray, because I kept one in the bag all of my early career, and when I threw it, it was the old light bulb, and you're like, "Oh, that's what it's supposed to be like," and I've been hooked ever since. So.
That's cool. All right, so before we go on more questions, you want to do the 5 ace runs
Sure.
on 20?
I've got special discs just for the occasion.
So one thing I'm going to have each guest do every week is they're going to throw 5 shots here on hole 20. Hole 20 is known for giving people aces, a lot of people's first ace. So let's see if Tim can get one.
Wouldn't that be cool? I've got a great story about that too. Bass Singer was doing my in the bag out here, and I said, "Yeah, hook up your camera after we're done. Give me 10, 15 shots. I'll get us an ace." And I threw, and I threw, and I threw, and I bet I threw over 100 shots, never aced. His battery died, so he goes back to his car to plug it in, and these 2 locals come through and play, and number 2 guy aces right in their face. And the camera was in the car. So if he'd have had the camera and film, it would have been so funny. I eventually did get an ace, but I think I threw like 200 shots before I got an ace.
Really?
Yeah, it was pretty bad. And Donna was doing the same thing. Neither one of us could get an ace.
So what 5 discs are you throwing?
I got 2 Swans, 2 Pures, and an Omega AP. So in terms of stability, the Omega AP, even though it's a lighter weight,
Is the most stable?
it is the most stable. It's crazy. The Swans, that's the one I use all the time. That's a new one I just got. And these are my 2 beat up Pures that I throw. Getting on them too much.
I like these sunglasses.
Oh, well, they're all flip. Alright, the legs 2 will not flip.
Okay, so you threw 2 Swans and a Pure?
That was the first 2 were Swans, and then that last one was a Pure. Always use your air. Don't ever let anybody tell you it's not.
See, blaming disc is what helps disc sales. That was close.
That had a good...
Yeah. Drop. Ooh.
The last 2 had the
That was way closer than Delps.
opportunity. Well, One of the great rumors, one of the great lakefront, not rumors, but can't think of the word I'm looking for. Legends of Lakefront was Rick Vokes acing this hole with a Cobra. But everybody thinks he aced it from back there.
Nobody realizes
it was from here
to the original
to the original long, which is on the other side of that last pine tree.
And when we get up there, we'll show where it's at.
325 or so. Yeah, the anchor's still
So, when was this tee pad put in?
The whole course was put in, the best that I can come up with, 1979.
And this is not an original.
That is an original tee pad, yeah.
From 1979? Okay. I did not know
Several of the original tee pads are still in place. 16 short. I'll point them out as we go.
Okay. I remember wasn't hole 1 used to be up beyond, going down to the playground?
Yeah, that hole's had several different numberings. At one time it was hole 18, at one time it was hole 1. The original layout was designed by Steady Ed sometime in that, late 70s, early 80s time frame. I'm pretty sure the course was already in the ground before 1980 hit. But not a lot of people knew about it. And that's kind of when, the club got going. People started coming out, seeing it, started playing. And I know Bobby Ellis was probably the first guy that ever ran a tournament out here. He ran a tournament, I can't even remember the name of it because I wasn't playing at that point, and it was a success. And then he kind of filtered out, and John Wintery had just moved to town to help his dad on the dairy farm from Atlanta, and he found the game and loved it, and Terry Ponder, your friend, introduced him to the game. And he, just like everybody else, you start playing a few times, you're hooked. So he got really interested in it, and they formed a small club, about 6 people, and they all put in like $100 to get the club started. And it wasn't long after that he told me 16 out of the 18 baskets were vandalized, to the point where the park was not willing to fix them, and they were just going to pull the course. And he kept, working them and pleading with them. And he eventually started coming out and just clandestinely taking one basket at a time back to his house, fixing it, and bringing it back out here and putting it in the ground. And after he got them all done, he went back to the park, and they agreed to keep the course in since there were people who cared. And then he started the second iteration of the club, which is the one that we see now. He's still our treasurer, even though we don't have very many meetings. He keeps track of all our money. And without him, I don't even know if we'd have had a park or a course here. Because if he had just said, well, whatever, and then the course got yanked, we don't know. Who knows what would have happened? These alternate reality type things, you just,
I mean, if you're really going down that path, if Warriors had never happened, would Harmon have ever happened?
Who knows?
And Wing Deer would probably never happen.
Harmon only happened because of Jerry. Jerry was, involved with John with Wing Deer. He and John, John was the lead design, Jerry helped him. And then all the work that, got put into putting the course in, that was all Jerry. So he got enthused about it. He started looking for a place. Like you said, if Warriors hadn't been here, who knows? It's hard to say.
And really crazy thought is Chris Dickerson might have not ever been a United States disc golf champion.
He'd be a kicker in the NFL right now.
Yeah.
What was that?
Tournament X Adder. Ungodly oversold.
Yeah, apparently.
That'd have been good in 1990.
You just threw that shot.
Huh?
That's the legend of Rick Vokes. He aced that basket where you're parked with Cobra. Because there were no high-speed discs back then. Stingrays and Cobras were pretty much it.
And I have seen Rick Vokes play. He's absolutely one of the coolest old guys I've ever seen.
Rick's awesome. He's an Under Armour too. You know what an Under Armour is?
Oh, kind of like Johnny Size too.
Through Under Armour, yeah. It's just the way we learned.
Dad got to watch Rick ace hole 5 white at Wing Deer in Master Worlds this year.
Rick's good, man.
Yeah, and he's 70-something and aced it.
Yeah, he's good.
When
I finally got to where I could beat him, it was to the point where he was old enough. I finally caught up to him.
You're so strong now.
Well, I'm learning a lot more. Those are the only fingers I ever used other than throwing putters. So these 2 fingers never did anything. I'm experimenting with getting that 3rd finger, but my pinky, it's not comfortable. I've got to work on that more.
We got a special.
I have to get better dip.
We got a special cameo.
Hello.
Supposed to say, hey guys, what's up? How was that?
That's your official Tennessee.
I used the deep voice.
I love the deep voice.
Wow.
That's okay.
I didn't mean to.
No, you're good.
I was just telling them if they want more views on the video, get you one.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sure we're gonna do one eventually.
Yeah, he'll be in an episode. We were actually just talking about I'm glad you're here. We were actually just talking about if John Wintery hadn't fixed all the baskets and Warriors had been pulled, then would Harmon have ever existed? Would Wing Deer have ever existed? And then would have you ever even got into the sport? And then would you have even won the USDGC?
You went a long way on this.
Yeah,
I said you'd be kicking at the pros.
So, hold on. I played out here. Actually, I played Wing Deer Park first. I played out here most until I found out Harmon was there. So Harmon and Fossil Hill didn't really have anything to do with me getting into the sport, but it helped me out for sure.
But none of those would have happened, would they,
Yeah.
if Warriors hadn't existed?
If there'd never been a course here,
Oh, you're saying like what if there wasn't a Warriors?
Because
If those baskets had been yanked because of vandalism and a course was never established here, would disc golf have taken hold in the Tri-Cities? We don't know.
Right? Never know.
Yeah, so it was out there in other places. So I guess sooner or later it would have gotten introduced here. It would have just been a
Yeah.
shorter. And Paul Doser, he's the first tournament player I ever met, and we called him Paul the Pro.
we'll have to talk about Paul at some point.
He was club president for a long time too.
I like Paul.
You mentioned John fixing the baskets.
Yeah.
I just want to point out, it was the day of Lakefront, like 4 or 5 years ago. I was playing my little warm-up round, and I get the hole 4 out here. You'll see it eventually. The ring in the center of the cage was inside the bottom of the cage, so obviously if the disc goes in, it would just fall out. So I went to Tim and I said, hey, it's broke. What can we do to fix it? And he was like, we can skip the hole, we can, try something to fix it. So I ran out to the hardware store just out the road. I bought some duct tape, wrapped up all the parts where it would connect. If duct tape needs a advertisement, it's been here for 5 years.
That's the same duct tape.
It's the same one. Yeah, I haven't touched it yet, and it's still holding strong.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
That duct tape has survived so much.
That one didn't flip in. It is, man. The first time I threw it, I was like, wow.
Can you make this putt?
Just tell them if. Hold on. Just tell them if they beat you,
Those would be big.
you'll take $25 off.
No.
They'll never have to take $25 off.
Well, that's true.
All right, hey,
Unless Paul McBeth buys a lesson.
if you make this, I'll give you $1.
Okay.
You got $1 on you?
That's your sound over.
Actually, I'll probably do it in the truck, yeah.
How your $1 safe?
I'll go get it. I'll go get it. I want this to be on camera.
Now, to me, the key to putting is 180% mental. You can't make a putt if you don't think you can make a putt. If you're worried about missing a putt, you'll never make a putt. You have to leave that behind. And it's only taken me 30-some years to figure it out. You have to leave behind the worry of missing and look at it as an opportunity.
Are you really bringing me 100 pennies?
You think I can fit 100 pennies in my hand?
I don't know. You can do many things.
Thinking 10 dimes. There in that hump, see where that depression's at? That depression was caused by people walking around that basket for the better part of 30 years.
So,
It's still there if you look, you can see it.
stay on top of it.
Yeah,
So Rick Vokes aced this pin.
that pin from where we threw from with a Cobra.
That's impressive.
Yeah, back in like 83, 84, 85, somewhere in
If
that.
y'all don't know who Rick Vokes is, you should look him up.
Pediatrician from
You're in luck.
Kentucky.
I had no dollars. There's 50 cents. That's 40 cents. 10 pennies.
Wait,
See that?
good putt, by the way.
Yeah, you decided to make the longest putt of your life on film for $1.
Thank you for the $1.
Thank you for making a good putt.
Don't even start with this. You know what he told me the other day? Tommy Shumpert. Literally every time I've ever played that hole, I've birdied it. He's not birdied it in the past 2 years. Yet last time he played it, it's like one of the easiest holes on the course. Last time he played it, he shot a 1070 rated round.
Yep.
Moral of the story, you can make a basic mistake and still win by 9 strokes.
So one more stroke would have been 1083.
Yeah, something.
You played Tommy Shumpert, right?
Yeah, I've only played it once, though.
Short to short.
Right when they first opened it, I don't remember the layout.
Look, when you birdie it this year, I want you to send me a message right then and there.
I told you I would.
Are you talking about hole 1?
Hole one.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
It's an easy hole.
Short,
yeah.
short.
Yeah.
I just, haven't gotten it for the past 2 years in a tournament.
That's okay.
Things happen.
Can't be perfect.
No. No, it wouldn't be any fun.
I don't know.
No, it'd be a lot of fun.
Basically, this was an opposite direction version of the creek hole. The tee was like right in there, and you threw down, I think it was down that gap right there, to basically where the Beaver's house is down there in the playground area. Since the park decided to pile all this mess up here, I can't show you exactly where the tee is. I know it was like right in here, right between those 2 trees.
Huh. That's a cool hole.
Yeah, it was a cool hole. Slightly longer than the creek hole. Still obviously had the creek in play. Our information board was like right here. And we had one of the earliest tags that I ever remembered was they had pegs on the board and the little circular like keychain, cardboard keychain tags with numbered 1 through whatever. And you would play for them off the board.
That's kind of cool.
It was. I don't know exactly how it worked because I never did it, but I remember it. But that hole was original hole 18 in the steady ed layout. The hole we just played was hole 17.
Okay, I did not know that.
Yeah. I'll take over and show you where roughly where the basket was. It's pretty close to where it was right in here.
I kind of remember.
You can see what's left of the gap, coming right down through there. A little bit of a turnover early to get into the gap, but then you threw it right down into here. I've got video of me and Paul throwing this hole the day we had to remove the basket because they were going to start construction on the playground. And so we threw as many as we could, trying to get an ace on film. We never did, but it's still, I've got the old film of us.
That's cool. Well, we've got
saying about old number 1.
There's somewhere they have a recording of her throwing in a 150 class DX Stingray from halfway up that hill.
Oh wow, we need to get all of our stuff like that together and do like a legacy box thing and get it put together into some type of a DVD. I've got all kinds of stuff like that.
They've got a little bit.
I've got film of us playing across the street when there were no trees over there. That just blows everybody's mind.
I've not really seen it when there was no trees, but I've seen it when the trees were small, from like when Hatchet Harry, I think, was filming some of the skins match.
Yeah, Jerry. Yeah. But no, we were playing Ice Bowl that year. I think it was 95 or 96, and we were playing what is now hole 21, up and over the hill shot, and it was in the short position. And because there's no trees on anywhere up there, Vern, the ex-club president that I've not mentioned yet, he flipped one over, but then it hyzered out on him, and he was laying beside 20 Long's basket because there was nothing to keep him from going down there. So it's a really different.
Yeah, because that's now I think that's considered like the wooded side.
Kinda.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this was original hole 18, and then you would walk back to the parking lot through the putt-putt course to get to your car. And original hole 1 was up on the hill going backwards to hole 4. I'll show you that one.
There also used to be a hole over here, right?
Yeah, where the treehouse sits.
Way over there.
Yeah, the tee was right there where the treehouse is, and the basket was just up into the trees right here above us. If you've watched any of the Lakefront skins, we've thrown out of the treehouse basically through that fairway to this basket here at number 2. That hole has got a lot of cool stuff about it. Lakefront Open one year in the Pro Masters, Billy Crump was ahead of Jerry Harmon by 9 strokes going into the last round, and Jerry tied him up on the last hole, and they went to a playoff hole, and Jerry aced it and beat him.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was crazy.
That's insane.
I was down in the old shack down there doing scores, and all of a sudden we just hear people going crazy. I'm like, what happened? And like, Jerry aced hole 1 in the playoff. I was like, holy cow.
And that's kind of cool thing is you can go back and look at old scores from past Lakefronts, No, you don't know these stories with any of them just by looking them on PGA.
No,
All you see is, oh, this person won.
I've not played in all of the lakefronts, but I bet I've only missed 6 or 8 maybe.
Who's played in the most?
I don't know. That's a tough call. If Vic Vickers was still playing, I would say him, but he hadn't played it in, golly, 5 or 6 or more years.
And Paul took a while off.
Paul,
so
yeah. I'm about the only one that hasn't taken a long break. I mean, I've probably played him more than anybody, but I can't say that with absolute certainty.
What about Thomas?
Thomas was right there too.
Thomas Glenn?
He's not been playing quite as long as I am. His PDJ number is 14,000 series, so he was half a year behind me joining. But
so
I don't know. It's hard to say. I'd have to go back and dig through everybody's everybody's records.
that would actually be really cool, is if, you know, we could figure out who's played the most and kind of talk to them as well and see what other stories they have. Because I mean, I've got lakefront stories from playing intermediate and advanced. So you just never know.
What year are we on now? We're working on our 36th or 37th year coming up. So that's a long time. We're the longest running consecutive PDJ event in the state, and probably top 50 in the country. I don't know how many.
And
Lakefront Open was first year, I think, was 83,
and
or the first tournament we had here.
We've had a lot of big names play here too.
Oh, back in the day, that was the only place to go. I mean, all these guys that lived in North Carolina, like Stan McDaniel, Carlton Howard, Larry Leonard, Walter Haney, you know, all these really good players from back in the day, Alan Beaver, they came here.
And I know,
you know, it was the place. It was a good tournament. They enjoyed the course. They loved it here.
Avery Jenkins has played in Lakefront.
That's a good one. So one year, that was the year Avery, Feldberg, and a fellow named Todd Branch out of Florida they were the Winnie crew. They were driving around, and they were touring basically in Winnebago. And they came through here, and of course the course wasn't what they were used to playing. They're used to playing, you know, longer courses, tougher courses. They come here, it's like pitch and putt compared to a lot of places. And so of the 3 of them, Todd Branch was the only one that cashed, and he was the least rated player of the 3 of them. Feldberg didn't cash and Avery didn't cash. And then they went up to the cliff to throw shots over the lake, and I bet they threw 100 discs off there and never could get across.
Was that also the year that I remember there was one year that Jay Bird beat them real bad?
Oh, I mean, all the guys around here know how to play here.
Yeah.
I mean, even me, as old as I am, I know how to play on this course, and I can score if I'm having a good day. But yeah, Tack, Jay Bird, all those guys, yeah, they beat them like drums because they just weren't used to the course. That's the one tough thing about touring is, in my opinion, you have to get there on Monday. And you need to spend Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday learning the course and figuring out what disc you're going to throw. And that's probably what they do now. But back in the day, you couldn't do that. I mean, I had to work during the week. When I showed up, it was at best the day before.
You played it blind most of the time.
A lot of the times, yeah. But when you play blind, there's something good about that too. You really don't know where the mistakes are. So you're not worried about it so much. You just throw. And I've had a lot of good blind rounds. It's like we're both on the old Mando shot. I don't think I've ever aced it going up the gut. I mean, the gut shot wasn't even, golly, for probably 20 years, you weren't allowed to throw up the gut on this hole. You had to throw around that side. So only when the sign finally fell, we decided not to put it back up.
Sign?
Yeah, there was a sign. There was that dead looking, whichever one it is. I guess it's that center tree. See, I see the scar in the middle of the tree. That's where the sign was. That's what caused that scar, was the wire we had tied around it to hold it in place. And it eventually fell. That tree kept you from going that way. You had to throw around this way. And it was initially put in as an erosion, because you get a lot of erosion on these holes.
So when did this hole go into implement to replace that one? Like what year, do you know?
This was an original hole.
Oh, this is? Okay.
Yeah, this is an original lead hole. You would play from the tree house to that basket right there, which was pretty much right there in that little open area behind us right there.
And then walk down and
then you just walk down and play this one, and then you played the creek hole.
Oh yeah. So this is not an original hole.
This is not. This was a connector hole that was made after the fact, when, like I said, the club expanded, put holes across the street, and added this one and 14, and created a different route.
So was this done in John's era,
Yeah.
Paul's, John's era?
John, Paul, me.
Okay.
I was involved in all this. I just wasn't club lead or anything like that.
So how many club presidents have there been?
Well, if you count Bobby, which I don't know if I would or not. Bobby Ellis, the guy I mentioned earlier, he wasn't necessarily a club president. He was just a tournament director that was selling discs at the time. John was president, obviously. Vernon Kimball, Paul Dosher, and me.
In that order?
Yeah.
So.
Well, not necessarily in that order. Paul stopped being president. He moved to Alabama. And so I took over. And then a few years later, he moved back, and I let him take it over again. And then he ran for a few years and got tired of it and gave it back to me, and I've had it ever since. So.
And when did you take over?
I have no idea. 2098, I don't know.
Honestly,
don't know.
I think, I'm trying to remember, I think Paul told me he quit playing PGA events somewhere in the 2000 to 2003.
His knowledge on that's better than mine, because he knows when he moved to Alabama when he came back.
Okay.
You know, when he came back, it was maybe 2 years later when I took it over. He ran it for a couple of years. Let's see. Okay, I might be able to do this. The first time a local won Lakefront Open was me, and Paul was the TD. So if we can figure out what year that was, I think it was, I won back-to-back years, and it was like 02 and 03 or...
Also, who's won Lakefront the most times in MPO?
We'd have to go to the board to look at that.
Okay.
Yeah. I've won it 4 times. Jaybird's won it 3. Tax won it at least twice. Chris has won it at least 2 or 3 times.
I know Zach's won it once.
Zach's got it once.
Who got it? Jeff Bennett got it this year.
Yeah.
Matt Splain got it, and
Splain. Woo, that tore him up.
Other interesting thing is while he's looking this up. So this is crazy how much the sport's grown. Is you got your PGA number in 2017, and you're a 5-digit, and her PGA number starts with a 9. Okay, I got mine in 2019. My PGA number starts with an 11. I'm a 6-digit. I bought a PGA number for Joe Tempura the other day. We did. Guess what his PGA number is?
200,000.
201001.
Wow.
I'm signed up for Knoxville Ice Bowl. I'm the 3rd oldest PGA number in advance.
That's crazy.
That's insane.
It is.
I used to be at the bottom of the list when I signed up.
is growing. I mean, exponentially. It's crazy.
Yeah, because you joined when again?
Okay, so I found the Lakefront. So I won 02 and 03.
Okay.
And then I won again in 06. And then I won again in the rain Lakefront. It rained the whole last round. Just poured down the whole round, and nobody could hit a fairway, and that's all I was doing was hitting fairways. I think I know I've gotten 4 of them. But back to your point about
growth.
About growth, yeah. You asked me what I think the future 10 years from now will be. Digitally, it's going to be much better. It's already getting better, and a lot of it can be attributed to COVID. You know, the PDGA wanted to get their digital scoring up and going, but they met a lot of resistance. You know, just like you had when you were starting the Masters Worlds. How many of those guys didn't want to do digital scoring?
80% of them?
Yeah, so there was a lot of that. But with COVID, it gave them a great excuse to implement it and get it going, and I think it's been great.
I think live scoring's been one of the greatest things PGA's done.
You're really hot on the tournament directors. We love it. I have just been a flip machine today.
You're just too strong for everything.
I'm just not focused. I'm having too much fun talking.
What do you think in 10 years, what do you think PGA number will be? Like, if you buy a PGA number in 2032.
I would hope it'd be at least 500,000.
That would, good Lord, I'd feel so old.
But think about that for a second. Think about that number, 500,000. That's really not that many people. You know,
comparative to other sports, no.
Period, no. And that's why the disc golf will have a hard time getting any kind of real TV exposure, because when they look and they say, and this is maybe just me being simplistic, but when a potential TV company that wants to do something like that looks and says, "How many viewers can you give me? How many can we tell them?" You know, maybe 1 million.
I mean, yeah.
We've only got 200,000 people who care enough about it to actually join the worldwide sanctioning body. And of those 200,000, how many of them are active? That's not I think numbers are our biggest problem right now. But the way it's growing right now, also, that number probably could go away in 3 or 4 years. We don't know.
There's thousands and thousands and thousands of people that play that don't have numbers.
Yeah.
There's so many of
I'd
those.
love to know how many people live around here that play that don't ever come to a tournament. You know, I'd love to have that number
I am curious about that too.
because it would help us in promoting and getting some sponsors. Yeah, that thing's stable.
Man, you like that Omega. You were sponsored by Latitude 64.
Yeah, I've been on the team since they put it together.
You're one of the original members.
Yeah. Yeah, Feldberg was he was going to start the team, and he put out on Facebook that we're going to start a team, and if you want to send in your resume, send it in. So I did, and of course I've known him. I met him at USDGC a long time ago. While we're here, Max, underneath that pile of mulch is the tee to a number of different numbers. But the tee's still there.
I've seen it a couple times. They just buried it.
Well, you see these big trees?
Through that gap?
Yeah, around that outside. It was basically the same hole. When I designed hole 4, I wanted to copy that one as much as I could.
Hey, come over here and you can look at it, see it better. So,
if you line up with the trash can and those big trees that follow right along it, the fairway was out to the left, and it was the same kind of shot, really, just a slow turnover that went down the hillside. But they were afraid that basket was too close to where they were going to build the tree house, so we lost that hole. Like Zach, he don't count. I'm not throwing very well today.
story of USDGC being the first. This was the first USDGC.
Yeah, 1999. So before that, I was going to Rock Hill to Winthrop to play this tournament they called the Carolinas Open, and it was on the original Winthrop Lakefront course, which was basically 18 holes that just went around the lake. There was nothing up at the Coliseum, none of those really long holes. And I just fell in love with the place. So then it was a few years later, they announced they're going to do this United States Championships. You know, one division, one champion. Everybody was just freaking out about it. But you had to qualify. Mm-hmm. So they set up their qualifying tournaments, and at that time, Bowling Green Pro was bigger than Bowling Green AMS is now, kinda. I mean, it was a big pro tournament. So I went there, and you had to be top 10 of non-qualified players, just like they do now, but it's top 5 now. So I finished like tied for 15th or something like that and got in, and I was over the moon. I was seriously happy. So that was the first time that I had ever experienced a tee-timed event. I'm sure there's been others before, but nobody was used to that. It was always shotgun start stuff. So we're going to be there, you know, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, one around the day with tee times. And the players meeting was on Wednesday night, and it was in the theater at Winthrop. And that scene was just crazy. I mean, everybody was so excited because they were there to begin with. And they were throwing minis back and forth, and it was just like Animal House for disc golfers. I mean, it was crazy.
This was the first United States
Very first one,
Disc Golf
1999, yeah. And so they go through all the players meeting and everything, and I'm sitting there because I'm the only one there from Tennessee. I didn't know. I knew a few guys from North Carolina, but most of the people I'd never met.
You were the only person representing Tennessee?
For the first 3 or 4 years, probably. Wow. But, so anyways, I'm sitting there wondering how long it's going to be before they call my name. Because, you know, tee times are going to start at 7 and go through like 2 o'clock.
This isn't done digitally. It's them sitting
there. No,
this
is manual. There's no digital, nothing.
Saying, be here at this time.
Right. And I'm just sitting there wondering, and the first name they called was mine. And I was like, what? And I was excited, and I was also kind of ill about it, because it was 7 o'clock in the morning.
That's pretty early.
Yeah, it was early. It was barely daylight. It may have been 7:30. My memory fails as the older I get, but I know for a fact I was the first person to ever throw a shot, and I actually deuced hole 1. So that was cool.
That's actually really cool, because I think USDGC is now seen as the biggest tournament in disc golf.
To me, it holds a special place in my heart because of everything I went through to get into it and the number of times I played it. I played in the first 6, and then I made 2 more after that. And one of my, fondest memories is at that tournament in my life, period. Just something that happened to me that we don't have to discuss with the world. But I had a really special moment at that tournament. It was great. And so every time I go there, I want to relive what I relived in the past. I only cashed 3 times, but
still, you cashed the USDGC. You were the first person to tee off. At
2 strokes, I think, away. I finished 23rd one year, and at that time they were keeping top 20 for the next year. That was everybody's target. Was make top 20. You don't have to qualify.
You get another invite.
Exactly. So I missed that by a couple of strokes one time, but I think 23rd was the highest I ever finished.
What was the last year you played it?
If 99 was the first year, I played in the 10th one, which I guess would have been 99, 09. Mm-hmm. So maybe 2010 or 2011. I played in that performance edition when they did.
Oh, the weird
It
one
was
that,
all ratings based.
yeah, the weird one that nobody really counts.
And that was, though they didn't count any of those ratings for that tournament because it was so skewed. At least that's the way I remember it. But I remember I was rated right around 1,000 at that tournament and played like poop because they were saying if you have that bigger rating, you're expected to shoot that rating or you're going to get negative points as far as your score is concerned.
Which is stressful.
It is, yeah, because I wasn't playing that good. I was into my 40s at that point, I'm pretty sure, and wasn't playing at the same level. And, you know, a lot of my rating, you know, climb came from playing courses I like here in Winged Deer, you know, in Fossil Hill and places that I'm familiar with. And then go up into Virginia and play the Grange and stuff like that. You know, I knew those courses really well, so I'm not saying my rating was artificially inflated, but, you know, it is what it is. If you like ratings, you know, personally, I think they're skewed no matter what, but... And they call it the Blue Monster. That's where I got the name.
I know that. Well,
the old basket was right there,
just below that,
right in between this rock and that cedar tree, right there in that little flat area.
from the tee pad out in the
The
field.
tee's up there, yeah, and the tee to a lot of the times this hole 6 was right up there in the woods. You threw over the valley to the wall over there. You've seen that putt.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think I'm gonna throw it.
I've never thrown it, so this will be the first time for me.
Well, I've aced it.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was cool stuff.
Yeah, come here and like stand here and look at this. So it was just above the wooden board, right?
Yeah, you can see the wall down there with the wood. Now I don't know if we're gonna throw this or not. It's awfully grown up. It wouldn't be the same shot.
Okay.
Yeah, you'd have to throw a high turnover and flex it back. But back in those days, we played to that basket, which you see the wall, and you look to the left of it, the big tall cedar. The basket was right there, just beyond the cedar. And our practice putter was back in the woods behind it back there. So we'd play it as a long position. Jason Grubb aced it, throwing that shot one time in a tournament.
I feel like Jason's been playing for like ever.
He started early.
When I first played disc golf, this was one of the cool
this
epic holes we loved.
So you used to throw
here.
tomahawk on this, right? With what, a python?
I don't remember.
You used to tomahawk a python.
Sure, I can see that. I threw those for a little while.
He was like
Anytime a new
13
disc
or
would come out,
14.
we'd all get them and try them out, and if we liked them, we'd stick with them. Not
Okay, so that's another interesting thing. When new discs come out, there was no flight numbers, obviously.
No.
Was there any kind of, hey, this is how this is supposed to fly, or you just went and got it and threw it?
You just had to get it and throw it. John was the Innova rep for over 20 years. So when a new disc would come out, he would buy like 50 of them and put some back for himself, and then he'd sell the rest of them. And sometimes we do mystery disc tournaments where you didn't know you knew a new release was coming, but you didn't know what it was. So when you showed up at the tournament, you pay your entry fee, he'd hand you the disc, and then you had to play the whole round with that disc. First pro tournament I ever won was the Discraft Hawk. Remember the Hawk?
Yeah, those are actually really good.
Yeah, and it was a glow mystery disc. Oh. So we did a glow tournament out here, and we all played with Hawks, and I remember I beat Vic in a playoff on hole 19, was 19 now.
Hawk is actually a really good disc.
Yeah. I've still got one.
One of the, like, do you still have that exact one?
No.
Oh.
No, I am very bad about keeping discs. I don't have a stash of discs at all, really.
I'm a hoarder.
I know, a lot of people are.
Yeah.
But I never played AM. I mean, when I first started playing, it was pro and AM. And I played like for a year in AM, and I got, you know, where I figured out all you got to do is shoot par out here and win in AM. So I quit trying to get birdies so much and just hit fairways and got pars. And the birdies came, and I won like 4 flights in a row, and they're like, well, you got to move up. So I moved up, and then I suffered for like 3 years, but eventually, you know, figured it out.
So the entire time you've had a PGA number, you've been pro, or was there a short amount of time where you had
I played advanced here one year because Vernon wanted me to win advanced. He didn't want some guy from North Carolina to win in advanced. Well, I didn't win, some other guy won. But I won the next year. And then I think I played one advanced tournament at Columbia at Earlwood, and then after that it was all pro. We played the tournament at Winged Deer, what we called the winter wrap-up. At that time it was only 9 holes, so we had 9 temp holes across the street down around the lake and in that big field over there. And I finished third and got like $30, and I was just like, you're gonna pay me? I'm taking it. So for $30, I sold my disc golf soul to play pro the rest of my life.
Dang. Yeah.
So the routing came really backwards. The shack was down there where the parking lot for the playground is now.
Okay.
And so the tees over here above the amphitheater, that was number 1. and it played to number 4's basket. And then that tee below number 4 that we use, you know,
Sometimes
doubles and
in
stuff,
doubles.
that was number 2, and it went up to behind the pine trees at the tree line. And then hole 7 was hole 3, and then hole 8 was hole 4, and then 9 and 10 and 11 did not exist. Or 9 did exist, I'm sorry, 9 did, and then you went back to hole 12. So 10 and 11 didn't exist.
But 9 is not the 9 we know now, right?
No,
it was
it's
completely different. We'll have to hit hole 9.
Yeah. 2, and I'm terrible with math, so subtract 91 from 66. What do you get?
I'm in disc golf
25,
mode right
35.
now. I'm not in TD mode.
So the original
Disc golfers
hole
can't
1
do
started
math.
back there. There's 2 tees actually. The original one is over to the right, to the right.
To the right of that little tree?
No, that's the second one. I'm sorry. The one to the right of that little tree. You can't see it. Probably can't see it at all, but if you're up there, you'd know. They were both holes that we played. And basically, everybody threw backhand rollers right through this valley and right up into these trees. All this scrub was gone. It wasn't like this. It was just a tree.
Backhand roller.
Yeah, it was the best shot for that hole. There was a backdoor alley through the trees over there that was really tight, and you could throw it too. And then we eventually took the hole up to the top of the hill. You know that anchor up there that we used super short for. That was the long position for that hole. But that was,
I did not know that.
that was not original. That was later on. But originally, this was hole 1, and then we're standing on what's the tee, what would have been the tee of hole 2 back then.
And this plays to...
See the 3 cedars up there?
Yeah.
Just behind them, to the in between the center one and the right one, just right past it. But at that time, about maybe 100 foot off the tee, there was a great big gnarly cedar tree that was right in the way, and you had to either go around one side or the other. So a lot of people threw backhand rollers to get around it and get the distance. I remember one time on this hole I threw a backhand roller and it rolled right up to the pole, and ding, it was a leaner. It was cool.
So
Can never do it again though.
it sounds like a lost art, this backhand roller.
Backhand rollers are great, man. They're risk reward though.
So you won't play this one just to like 6 is short? Or
Yes, that was 6 is short was what is 6 short now was this whole short position after we had played that one so long we felt like we wanted something different.
Okay.
I'm gonna throw a roller to the long position.
Okay.
I have done.
Oh, that's on way too much turn.
It was not, and this corner, in fairness, has grown out a lot. This one I'm gonna try roll right into the middle of those 3 trees.
Okay. Looks good. Looks really good. So is that pretty much circle 1 for where we used to be?
Yeah.
Hole what is the normal course hole 1, but in that Masters layout was hole 18.
Yeah.
That long pin, which I thought was an amazing hole. I got to see so many just perfectly thrown backhand rollers on that hole because that was all the Master players did.
That you have to consider the source, yeah. You don't see a whole lot of backhand rollers like you would from Masters Group out of your new pros. They can throw it so far they don't need it.
Or a lot of people throw side arms.
Yeah, that too. Yeah. To the best of my memory, right there where the grass and the mulch kind of meet. Right in here. Right in there somewhere.
That's actually a really cool hole.
But like I said, there were 2 trees in that field that have since fallen and gone away that were obstacles off the tee. This is what made the backhand roller, a more appropriate shot for me anyways.
And so you added holes 5 and 6, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And hole 5 plays, that way down here.
Here's another thing that'll blow your mind. There was a Lakefront Open. I don't know when it was, but that entire field, all the way to the lake, was grass. And we added 3 temp holes up here. One that went up, one that came over, and then one that came back down.
All the way back to the lake.
It was nothing but grass. They kept it mowed. There was no soccer fields over there. It was just a place where kids rode their bicycles. Your dad rode his bicycle there. And they had quit mowing it and let it all grow up. But there was a time when everything to the lake was just grass.
So when you put these holes in, I assume you all had to cut stuff out, or did you kind of take advantage of it when it was growing up?
We had to cut stuff out. But it wasn't a bad cut, because at that point, we were only talking about...
It was young.
I mean, that's only probably 10 to 12 years of growth, maybe 20 max. I don't know when they quit mowing it, but it's been a long time.
So was there 2 loops, or was there? Because this was hole 1 over here at one point, yet there was also hole 1 over there at one point.
Well, hole 18 and hole 1, they were the same hole, but they had different numberings at different times.
Okay.
As far as a loop, I'd have to think it out. That was 1. This would have been 2, 3, 8 would have been 4, 9 would have been 5, 12 would have been 6, and then you played 13, which was 7. Then you played the hole parallel to 5.
For the turnover.
Yeah, which was hole 5 a long time. What did I say? That would have been 7, 8 down the hill. Then you played 9 across the valley. Then you went to the treehouse hole, and that was 10. Then you played what's now hole 2. That'd be 11. Then you played the creek hole, which would be 12. 16 would be 13. 17 would be 14. 18 would be 15.
Hole 19 was
19 would be 16.
Was it? Okay.
1 would be 17, and then the downhill creek shot would be 18. That was the original layout.
Okay. Wow, that's so different.
Yeah, it is. And we still play, I think, 10 original holes, unless my count's wrong. I thought it was 12, but then I counted a while back, and it seemed like it was closer to 10. The actual same exact hole. This one's one of them.
This is an original steady
It's an
hole.
original steady ed hole. And I've never aced it.
So this is actually one of the things that has happened quite recently. Is this is not the original tee pad, obviously.
No.
Did we actually tear up the original tee pad when we put this in, or was there a tee pad?
Park did.
Park tore up the original tee pad, and Warriors did start to age a little bit, so we're trying to help her out some. If you like Warriors and want to actively help, we're always, we'll have work days, and we're always trying to raise money to replace more tee pads, get new baskets, that kind of stuff.
For sure. It was original hole 3, yep. This was the last hole I played before I got mad and left.
That's good.
Yeah, that's not the ace though. Like I said, I've been playing this hole for 30 years and never aced it.
So Delp and I were talking about this, and I'm curious what you think. A lot of people, that played Ultimate come into disc golf, and they're usually feels like they have a head start.
For sure, because they know how to throw flippy discs.
I was going to say, I don't feel like it's because they're actually throwing a frisbee or a disc. It's because they're throwing something that's hard to control.
Like when I get back to what I was talking about when I'm out here trying to play with a whammo. I had no idea what I was doing.
And a whammo's not easy to use.
It is not. You have to know how. You have to have. You have to know your finger manipulation. You have to know how to work your arm. You got to air bounce it a little bit. But for an ultimate player to step into disc golf, they can get right. Look at Harrison. Look how good he was.
Yeah, he got up to like 960 in a heartbeat.
Right, because he has right off. Most ultimate players, they're mainly side arms. So right off the bat, he's got good side arm. He knows finesse, so when he gets around the basket, he's got touch shot.
And he has really good pace control.
Yeah,
So like putting, I felt like I don't want the putt I deserve. Nope.
Uh-oh. If I can make a short putt, I can get a stroke on him.
You can do it. I believe in you.
He did it.
Make AP.